Mike, you're up.
Yeah.
Your question is, within the last 24 months, your company, Lotlauncher, has consulted on over 600 residential properties in Washington State and has become the #1 referred feasibility and land use company by real estate brokers with over 10,000 referring partners in Washington State. Michael, it's my understanding that you also used to be a mortgage lender for many years. How did you get into the business, and did you know that you would have this much success with this service?
How did I get into lending, or did I get into developing property?
Correct.
Okay. So, my girlfriend at the time said I was an incredible jerk and that I needed to make some changes in my life. Otherwise, she was out.
Okay.
And I think we all have moments to where we have to make changes. And that was really tough for me, I'll be honest with you. I didn't know I was a jerk. And she kind of broke it down for me, and she did it in a really positive way. And that allowed me to see that really, instead of being a jerk, I was just unhappy.
Okay.
And so, and I loved her. And I thought I should probably listen to her. Yeah. It's a good question. But yeah, I think that's why you named it The Moment, right?
Yeah, that's right.
You just always have that. So, yeah, good question.
That's great. In life, like Yazzie and I were just having this conversation in the back room, is that we all have moments. Different industries, different businesses, different circumstances. Life is hard. I mean, that's just a part of life. But it's how are you going to handle that moment,
right,
and how are you going to turn that into a positive. So here you were a mortgage lender. You were unhappy,
yeah,
and you're exuding that on the exterior.
Everyone. I lost my best friend because of it. I turned it around to where I was like, you're the reason why I'm not successful.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I mean, my wife now was absolutely right. Yeah.
So I don't know this, but I'm assuming that maybe perhaps the reason why you're unhappy is because you were just doing the job to make money, versus now you identified a problem that you had a solution to, and so now it's all about helping people.
Yeah.
I guess why did you start this business, and why do you think that you're happier now? Because just having the short amount of interaction I've had with you, not only today in person, but also over the phone, I would have thought you were like the happiest guy all the time.
Yeah, no, I thank you. I really am happy. I guess the question is, why did I choose the development side? Is
Correct,
that the question?
Correct.
Yeah, so it was actually out of an insecurity of wanting to be successful and constantly chasing that of what other people think of me. My father is really important to me, and very successful, and I felt like I was always competing against him. And I had always heard, like, compete against yourself. Coach Frosty over at PLU down here in Spanaway was always like, compete against yourself, don't compete against everybody else, because it's just not a winning attitude. And so I finally, it sunk in, Jerry, and it was like, I did it because my wife and I wanted to build a house, and I was in lending and thought it was a simple process, and the first process was buying land, and I thought, well, I can do this, and found out real quick I couldn't, and that I felt like there was no one advocating for me. And I would ask my real estate broker, which was amazing. They would still have a difficult time. And then they would come back to me and say, are you a lender? Don't you do construction loans? How do you not know this? And I would think, well, I know part of it, but I don't know the whole thing. And I liked it, and I felt like it was something that I wanted to do to help people.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. That's fantastic. So do you have any stories that you can share with us in which that you really, really helped somebody who was kind of in your situation, in which they really wanted to build their own home but perhaps didn't have the know-how?
Yeah, I mean, every day. That's the fun part, to be encouraging to people. In fact, yesterday on the phone, lady calls and says, I think I'm absolutely a wackadoodle for thinking I can do this. And I'm like, yeah, I thought I was too. And I was like, you just grow every day. And so, part of our business model is one to where we say, yeah, we have products and services that can help you. But really what we're trying to do is give you options. Options for, you're capable of doing this, you're intelligent, you can make good decisions for you and your family. And so if I were in your shoes and maybe I didn't have the funds to go in one direction, here's what I would do next. And then the other option is, if you want, we'll help you through either feasibility or project management to accomplish anything you want to do to develop that property. And so, this lady who's very capable, and so just to say to her, no, you're on the right track. You're actually doing very well, and you just need some help. Everybody needs a point in the right direction.
Sure.
We say that constantly. So that's my most recent experience. We have a gentleman who said, I want to build a cave. And I thought, a cave? Well, I've never had that phone call. That's interesting. He said, have you ever done that before? No, I've never built a cave before. No, but we have clients call all the time for things that I think are simple, like how do you deal with wetland mitigation, or how do you deal with this or that? And those are all things within our business that we really encourage brokers, real estate agents, individuals to call us. Let's share that knowledge for free. It's not a waste of my time. It's not a waste of our staff's time to provide that information, especially if we're able to advocate for somebody and move them forward in that process. Because really, people do make good decisions for themselves. They just have to get pointed in the right direction sometimes.
Yeah. I love that, Mike. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any other questions for me?
I actually have a question. So,
Sure.
as a former mortgage person, that's
Yeah.
what I do.
Yeah.
And how did you get to the point where you knew the things that you know? Because obviously, when they ask me about feasibility or they ask me
Yeah.
about what can be done, that's not my expertise. So, how did you end up kind of making that transition?
I made mistakes.
Yeah.
That's the short answer. So in construction lending, at least the bank that I worked for said, a client would come in and we'd say, yeah, bring me your plans and specs and your permits, and then we'll go ahead and get that loan right away for you. And they would say, well, how?
Yeah.
And I would say, well, I think your real estate agent can help you. And the real estate agent would call and say, why did you say that? Are you insane? And I would say, no, thanks for the referrals. Keep sending them, And
Right.
and then, so then I kind of went through the checklist with the county, and I figured out, geez, these are actually really nice people that want to help people.
Yeah.
It's just a really confusing process.
Right.
And how do you know what's buildable, which is one aspect, or how do you know what's feasible is another
Yeah.
aspect? Buildable is one thing. Is the property buildable? Yeah, the zoning allows that, but is it feasible based on what you want to do with the property? And so I went through just the process and actually found that it was more fun. And then with my girlfriend telling me, you might want to think about making a change, timing, right?
Right.
We're all in this business. Timing's really important. And so, we just decided to do it. And I felt like, I did one feasibility for someone, another one. I started kind of gaining a little bit more confidence. But then I started feeling like, I think there's maybe some things that I'm missing, that I might not be giving my clients the best experience or best advice. And so I had a friend who owned a company, and he said, hey, we're looking for a salesperson, and in the process you'll be able to learn civil engineering, structural engineering, and survey as well. And I was like, oh, that's great. What are those? And then, so kind of putting all those pieces together helped me from that level. Now, I'm not an expert in those fields. I don't pretend to be or anything like that, but timing. Everything came together, and it was as
So you
if
did that
so-
job
yeah.
for a year or two?
Yeah, about 9 months, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had told him, hey, I'm going to go back to doing feasibility. And he was like, great, you're good at it. Keep us in mind when you need clients, and we still have a great relationship.
Nice.
And so I'm
9
really...
months of training. I like that.
Yeah, because there's no, the question you asked,
Yeah.
is there a school? No. There's not a school.
I mean, it almost sounds like that was a second moment for you too, though, right? Because that's a pretty big
Well, yeah.
piece to get to where you are now. 'Cause there is no college for what we do, really. It's like an online education, which really just helps you get a license.
Yeah.
And I had learned, too, being in lending and trying to be successful and being marginally successful, to exude a confidence maybe that I didn't actually feel in my heart. And so...
Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, my dad calls it the BS, right? So, and so it feels good to be successful in this business, but it really feels good to not pretend to be anybody I'm not.
I love that, Mike.
That's huge.
That's great.
So,
It's fantastic. Awesome story.
Yeah, thank
You know, the time that we connected on the phone when we had that initial conversation, I really enjoyed having that. I think we talked for like an hour and a half.
We did, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've got some anecdotes for things. I think landed being the beef tongue of the industry. You know, as professionals, we're all trying to build value, right? Whether it's through our experience or our knowledge or whatever it is we're doing. And so, I think that the land being, as we see our culture shift and through the pandemic and through all sorts of things, it allows different opportunities for people, and it is disruptive. It is challenging, but it is also something that can be really fun. And the culture too is changing, just like you're able to reach out to other people, ask questions, and then maybe them be more open. I remember back in lending, people weren't open. They didn't tell me. They drove in their Range Rover and they shut the door to their office, and I didn't learn anything. And I learned that I should go after material possessions and try and wear a fancy suit and act as tough and confident as possible, which some of those things are great, but typically don't serve you well over a long period of time. And I experienced that. I treated people poorly, and to which I'm apologetic for and very sorry. And now it's my time to help others.
It's awesome. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that.